Hello everyone, welcome to CredFlow. So today in this video we will understand that how with the help of CredFlow you can automate the payment reminder system for your organization and can easily collect the outstanding amount from the market on time. So for the same, before starting with the product, it is very much important to sync your tally with the CredFlow desktop app. Once your tally gets synced, you can easily visit to our website or to mobile application. You can log into your account and can perform different activities with the available features. So CredFlow software is actually divided into six different segments where the first segment is the dashboard which reflects the current situation and the scenario of your organization with respect to the outstanding amount, the collection period, the recovery amount and also the sales value. From collect menu to communication menu, we have provided different tabs to perform the activities with respect to your debtors, like sending them reminder, collecting the amount on time, in detail analysis of each debtor. You can create certain discount schemes and also you can track all the reminders sent to your debtors. The third segment which we have provided is with respect to your vendors, such that you can track all your bills of the organization, who are the vendors for whom the payments were done, and also who are the vendors for whom still the payment is left to be paid. The fourth segment which we have given is with respect to your stock, where you can easily monitor and track the things related to your stocks. The fifth segment reflects your user activities, such that you can add different users into your organization and you can restrict their access accordingly. And the very last segment is the setting menu, where you can stop certain things which are already automated. So we'll just understand each segment one by one. So starting with the very first segment, that is a dashboard, where the CredFlow has clearly bifurcated the two different amounts, one which is under the credit period, another another which has already become the overdue amount, such that the amount which is under your credit period is termed as a not overdue amount, and the amount which are actually got overdue have been shown on the 15 days of interval time period. These days interval can be customized accordingly as per your need, and you can just monitor your overdue amount on the days selected in those intervals. Here the same value is being represented in an analytical form, and another term you can see here is the soon overdue, which reflects the amount which will become overdue by the next week. Here is the overdue amount, and among these overdue, if there are any amount which are overdue by more than 4 months, that is more than 120 days, and still these amounts are overdue, those will be reflected under very old. As said earlier, here we have represented four different terms. Like first is the outstanding amount, which tells you that this much is the amount which is still in the market till date value, and this can be monitored with the month-wise revenue are still outstanding in the market. This can be compared with the last month revenue of the outstanding amount, where you can easily compare whether the outstanding amount value in the market got increase or decrease. If got increase or decrease also, then by what percent? And here certain color reflection is there with that is the either in red or in green, showing you that the increasing of these terms or these values, if they are harmful for your business, those are reflected by red color. If they are beneficial for your business, those are reflected by green color accordingly. So very second term is the average collection period, which actually reflects that what is the recovery time to collect these outstanding amounts from the market for your business. And this is the current situation of the organization to collect those outstanding amounts. So basically the recovery period comes under the average collection period. This can be also monitored with the month-wise performance of the organization, and it can also be compared with the last month. If it got increased, then by what percent? If it got decreased, then by what percent? Green is reflecting that it is actually beneficial for your business at this time. Here, the third graph reflects the sales value for this month. This is the exact sale made for this month, and you can easily monitor the month-wise sales achieved. Even the sale value can be compared with respect to last month. If it is in red, it is showing that the sale must have got decreased and this is not good for the business. Similarly, the collection can be monitored easily. Month-wise collection can be monitored here, and this is showing the recovery for this month made. Even this can be compared through the last month. So easily on dashboard, you can track what is the current situation of the organization, what are the things shown in green color, so reflecting that it is good for the business, and what are the things reflected in red color, showing that it is not good for the business. And you can clearly see what are the amounts under the credit period, what are the amounts got overdue, even if got overdue, if there are certain amounts which are very old and still overdue, that can be easily reflected under particular column. So this was the segment one. Now the another important tab is the tab starting from collect menu to communication, which is the actually next segment, which will help you to deal with your debtor to by sending reminders and collecting the outstanding amount, and also different incentive or discount schemes can be created. So before sending the reminder, the first most important thing is to generate the payment link. So basically setting up the gateway payment link helps you to share the payment link also with the along with the reminder. So here is an option of payment setting where first most thing what you do is you add your bank account. Basically adding bank account means the amount which your debtor will be paying through the online gateway, that will get settled in this particular bank account. You can add multiple bank account, but the one which will be selected as default will be used to for the settlement of the amount. Another thing is the payment receiving methods which you want to enable or disable for your debtors. So basically, these are the options which will be visible to your debtors when they will be making payments, like net banking, UPI, virtual account is for the NEFT and RTGS, and basically the card payments, including the debit card and credit card. There are no such charges on the gateway, but still, if in future any charges are getting imposed, there you have the option that your debtors will bear the charges. Here you can manage your virtual account. So basically virtual account helps you to helps you in easy reconciliation of the payment received from your debtor, such that each debt, because each debtor is having a different virtual account number of yours. So whenever you are receiving any of the payment in this particular virtual account, you can easily understand this is the payment received by this particular debtor only. By the time to time, you can enable or disable the virtual account status for each debtor as per the need. For the payment received online through the gateway, the receipts gets automatically generated for these payments, and these receipts can be sent in tally as a regular voucher if you have enabled this option, and will get settled against to your bank entries if you have opted for this particular option. And those bank can be selected from here. Basically, these are the bank which are getting fetched from your tally. So after setting these necessary bank details, then we send the reminders to the debtor. To sending the reminders, basically you can clearly see what are the outstanding amount which is with your debtor, and out of these outstanding amount, what are the amounts actually got overdue, and who are the debtors having the overdue invoices. You can also see the advance. If you have made any payment in advance to your vendors, you can see those details. And even if there is any outstanding, you have different branches and there is outstanding in the branches, you can easily see the outstanding in branches. So CredFlow basically sends the reminder to the debtor who has the invoices got overdue. And these are the 30 people list reflecting over here, such that each company name can be seen, what are the total due they are having, and out of those total due, what are the total overdue they have. When was the last payment received? What is the average collection period for this particular company or debtor? So on dashboard, it was seen for an organization, but here you can see it debtor to debtor. Next thing which you can see is the oldest due, which reflects the oldest invoice in your organization of this particular company, which is still overdue, and that is by how many days. If you click on any of the organization name, you will see another in detail analysis that what are the sales you have made to this particular company, and the invoice got generated, whether are still overdue or not overdue or got clear. So status of the invoices can be checked. If you have issued any of the credit note, that can be tracked easily. When was the last payment received from this particular company, and their ledgers can be easily seen. You can download this ledger and you can share it manually also, although these ledgers are getting shared with the payment reminders. So before sending the payment reminder, we need to set the automated reminder for each data. And for that, we need to basically tell the software about the payment terms for each data, such that once the invoice will get overdue, then only the reminder will be sent. So this payment term, initially it gets fetches from the tally, but if it is not mentioned in the tally, you can mention it over here. Now, as we have the option to add the different users also, like in CredFlow, you can add different users into your organization under the column user permission. So whatever other users are added in your organization, they can be assigned accordingly, data-wise data, that who is the account manager who is actually handling the sales and collection related to this particular data. Whether to send the automated reminder or not, you can enable and disable it accordingly. If yes, then what is the frequency at which you want to send a reminder? Suppose you want to send a reminder weekly, you need to select these 7 days. Or if not on the days gap, if you want to send it on any particular date, you just need to select the date such that now only on these 3 days reminder will be sent at 10 a.m. in morning, and rest of the day the reminders will not be sent. You can also control the credit limit of your each debtor by defining two parameters, that is by how many days you are allowing for the overdues and what is the maximum limit of outstanding you are allowing to them, such that when the next invoices of this particular company or debtor will get generated, then our CredFlow will check for the previous invoices and will see that are there any invoices which are overdue and exceeding these days, or if suppose if this sale is going to be made, then by adding this sale value and the previous outstanding value, is it getting exceeded by this amount or not. If any of the parameter gets failed, you will receive a notification on the mobile app and email too that this particular data is crossing the credit limit. Now, sending the automated reminder, you need to tell the software what are the modes you want to keep for the automated reminder, whether email or SMS or IVR. Opting IVR enables the SMS and the call, both the features simultaneously. So when you are opting for IVR, SMS gets selected by default. You need to select the you need to add different contact details of this particular company, such that on these contact details only email, SMS and IVR will be placed. After submitting the form and enabling the automated reminder feature, these the parties will start receiving the reminder at 10 a.m. in the morning. The So for each data, the reminder need to be set at the initial level only, and with their contact details and payment term. This can be done one by one for each data, or we have provided you a Google Sheet where you can edit these details in bulk and can save it in a real time, which will help you to set the automated reminder for each data, where you can select the account manager, credit control, overdue days, and all. You can also download the same Excel sheet into your PC or laptop, and you can edit it in offline mode, and later on you can import it easily. Once the reminder system are set for all the debtors, you can automatically reminder will get started. So, like software will start sending the reminder to these debtors automatically at 10 a.m. in morning. So in email, basically this is the texted form, this is the texted mail which is being shared to the debtor, and also in email we actually shared the attachments of the overdue invoices and ledger. Similarly, in the IVR call, we basically shared basically a computerized call is being placed on the debtor's contact number, and it actually informed debtors that they have certain outstanding amount, so they need to clear that outstanding amount. And in the SMS, With the written content, we share the two links to see the invoices, that is the overdue invoices, and also the payment link, such that if they want to pay online, which we have seen recently, where we actually set the payment gateway feature, so that can they can pay accordingly. So the same link is being shared over WhatsApp also. So WhatsApp is a manual process where you need to click on WhatsApp and you will be redirected to the WhatsApp website and you need to continue to chat to send this message. So this is what the written content we have, and we have two links, basically one to see the overdue invoices and other to make the payment through the gateway. So for with the first link, your each debtor will be able to see what are the overdue invoices. Basically, first the breakdown summary will be visible. They can see what is the total amount outstanding they have, and out of which what are the overdue amount. And to whatever overdue amount they will click, they will be redirected to the attachment of the invoice. They can easily see what is the invoice, and if there is any dispute in that invoice or any of the discrepancies in the invoice, they can easily raise the query, and you will receive a notification that in this particular invoice there is something which is not mentioned, or maybe extra thing is mentioned, and this particular debtor has raised the query. Even if it is everything is perfect, they can acknowledge the same. Along with the invoice, the company can also see the ledger. The debtor can also see the ledger with you, what are the transactions being made, and from here they can click the pay to pay the overdue amount easily. They can also edit the amount as per their need, and these are the payment options which we actually enable it from the backend under the payment gateway feature in this payment setting. So before sending the reminder, we actually set the payment gateway feature, and these options can be enabled, disabled, which will be seen to your debtor when they will be proceeding with the payment. So after sending the reminder and enabling the gateway feature, so basically software will start sending them the reminder automatically at 10 a.m. in morning with the mode selected, and will share the payment link accordingly so as that they can make the payment on time. So whatever reminder being sent to each debtor, they can be tracked easily under the see history option. There is an option to see the history of the reminders being sent, where you can see at what time reminder was sent, what was the mode used to send the reminder, and basically at what time, on which date you have sent the reminder, who is the account manager looking after this, and basically what is the status. As we are sharing the link in the WhatsApp and SMS, even email is a link. So whenever they are opening these links, so that can be tracked easily at what time and what date they actually open the link. So there can be a transparency can be maintained such that they cannot deny that they haven't received any of the reminder. Also, these reminders can be tracked one by one for each debtor, where you can see total how many reminders are being sent on which date and which time. And also, if you want, you can track the reminders at an organization level date wise, such that you can see today, suppose on 25th Jan, to how many debtors reminders were sent, what are the modes used, at what time, what is the status of each reminder. That can be tracked easily at an organization level. Also, to the debtor, we have shared the payment link to make the payment, as we have set the necessary gateway features. So these are the payment gateway or payment methods which we have enabled it from the backend. Suppose any of the debtor makes the payment, that can also be tracked easily under the receipt option under the CredFlow Pay. You can easily track who are the debtors who made you the payment through the payment link which you have shared through the with the payment reminder. You can also track all the payments received by your organization, whether through the gateway or maybe through an offline mode. That can be tracked easily. Even you can create your own payment link, that is the get payment link. With this option, you just need to select your debtor name, of what amount you want to create the payment link, and if you want to allow them with the partial payment, you can enable and just need to generate the link. Easily you can share it on WhatsApp, and you can copy it and share it over the mail or through SMS. So you you can easily create your own payment link, and also the payment link with the overdue for the overdue amount is actually being shared with the reminders. These are the details of the requested payment. Basically, the payment link which you have created is actually a request you made to debtor to make the payment. So these are the details of the requested payment, as we have just created a link of 1000 rupees, and the status that it is being sent. Once they make the payment, the payment will again get reflected on the CredFlow pay, and accordingly the status will come resolved. So after sending the reminder, you can track the reminder, you can also track the payment. But if suppose any of the data does not make the payment and give you the new date for the payment, they promised you that they will pay on certain date this much of the certain amount. So you can also add the next follow-up activities. Basically, you can create a task for your organization that what amount they promise they will pay and on which particular date they have promised. You can also add certain necessary details if there are any, like if suppose they said they will make the bank transfer. Does that you can send them reminder again on this particular date. They have promised on the 27th. So suppose you if you enable this option, then on 27th, CredFlow will send them a reminder through email that they have promised to pay 10,000 of rupees. So your organization is looking forward to it. Even you can send the acknowledgement for the promise made at this instance only, such that the same acknowledgement can be used for the further communications. So you can create the task, you can send them the acknowledgement, and you can send them the reminder also on that particular date. So for each data, you can create the task of whatever date or amount they have promised you, and accordingly all the tasks created for the organization will get accumulated under the action tab. In this action tab, the tasks are actually differentiated into three different parts. The upcoming task reflects the future date task which you have created, which you need to take the follow, especially on this particular date. And once you reach to this date, suppose on 31st Jan, this task will get open. If you have contacted them, you need to close this task. And if you forgot to contact this data on this particular date, then it will be counted as overdue. Whatever task you have closed can be tracked under the closed task. And if there is a requirement to create a new task again for any particular data, you can create the new task by selecting the data easily. These details of the task created can be downloaded into Excel file and can be used for further communication. So for each data, you actually send the reminder, you share the payment link, you track the reminder, you create the new task also if required, and you can also track the payment received for each data. The payment which received, the automatically receipt will be generated, and that will get settled in your tally if opted. So automatic reminders are being sent at 10 a.m. in morning, but you can send the manual reminders at any time, either one by one, or you can send the manual reminder in bulk also. You can opt for bulk messages. If you want to send the Ivr call at this time to all these data, you can select these data and send. So at this time, manually, you can send the Ivr call to multiple data. Accordingly, you can also read the aging summary, basically the age of the amount which your debtor is actually holding. So you can see each company is having the amount under the credit period, and if the amount got overdue, so you can track by how many days it is actually overdue, and it is with that particular debtor. So you can track easily who are the debtors who are making the payment faster to you or who are taking much time. You can easily categorize them as per the need, whether they are into low priority, high priority, or you are considering them as a bad debt. And accordingly, later on, you can just filter with respect to the priority, and you can take the follow-ups accordingly. So this was the tab which from here to here, which actually helps you to deal with your debtors. And another thing is that you can also basically track certain reports including that each debtor behavior can be tracked easily, that what is the collection trend, what is the sales trend. Like for each data, you can see what is the collection received for this particular month, and you can compare it from last month also, that whether the collection was increase or decrease. You can see the sales also for each data, what was the sales made with this particular data, and what is whether the sales got increased or decreased with respect to last month. Accordingly, the collection period of each debtor. Here is the total sale. Basically, the debtor summary reflects the total sale under this column reflects the sale made to debtor only and also the collection which was made through debtor only. So both the things can be monitored and this thing can be downloaded easily. Another report which we actually provide you is the projected collection. It's an estimation which CredFlow provides you that this much amount is actually CredFlow is projecting that can be collected. That is with respect to the past paying behavior of your debtors. So any company suppose is paying you 10 days and you generated their invoice today. So CredFlow will consider that obviously with the help of last analysis it was found that they pay in 10 days. So definitely invoice generated today will get clear by the coming next 10 days. So this can be tracked easily. Another important segment is the user permission. Under the user permission, you have the option to add different users and you can restrict their access to. To invite any user into your CredFlow organization domain, you just need to click on the invite user and you have to enter their email ID. After entering their email ID, you just need to define their role such that when they will be joining to their organization in CredFlow, at what role they are joining. And accordingly, the restriction imposed will be directed. After sending mail, your user will receive an email invitation where they just need to click on the link given and they need to create their password. Once they are done with creating the password, their status will be confirmed here. Later on, users added their roles can be changed accordingly. Suppose anyone was working as a sales manager, you want to transfer them to purchase department, you can simply change their role. Whatever users added here can be restricted with their access in CredFlow, such that suppose we have a purchase manager here and being a business owner, you want to give them the sales access also. So whatever menus here reflecting the things with respect to the sales will be visible to the purchase manager whenever they will be logging into the CredFlow account. If you don't want to give, suppose if you don't want to give the purchase access to your sales manager, you can simply turn it off and accordingly the tabs will be reflected as no here and these particular tabs will get disabled when the sales manager will be logging into their CredFlow account. So accordingly, you can restrict their access as per their need. These users added can be monitored with their performance under the sales manager report. In this segment, you can easily track who are the account managers, basically the sales managers, and what are the value of the sales they have achieved, what was the target given, how much percent of the target they have completed. If you want to add the target, you can simply click on add. You just enter the amount and whether it is for the sales or for the collection target, you can simply define it the target. You can also monitor that total sales achieved by your organization, total collection achieved by your organization. What was the sales target for this particular duration? What was the collection target for this particular duration? The time period can be customized accordingly. So you can add your users and you can also monitor their performance accordingly. Also, as we have seen on the collect menu, there was one option available to assign the account manager under this when we were setting the automatic reminder. So here also we actually assign the account manager who is actually looking after this data with respect to sales or with respect to collection. And accordingly we can assign it one by one or in the Google Sheet we can assign it in bulk also. So this was for the user permission which actually helps you to monitor your employee accordingly. Now the next segment is related to your vendors where we can easily track who are the vendors to whom you are still required to pay and what are the amounts. So such that we can see the company name of the vendors, even their contact details as we have seen for the debtors. What are the payables which is still required to be paid and even when you will click on the vendor you can easily see the things like related to the bills and whether the bills of whether the your organization bill are still pending or paid. Accordingly, you can see what are the payments you have already made, and also the ledger with your vendor. So whatever things you were actually tracking for your debtors, same thing can be monitored for your vendors also. After knowing the payable amount for each vendor, you can easily add the contact details of your vendor here also, such that these contact details can be added up to five, same as we have added for the debtors. And also here we can just select the purchase manager, as we have added many different users in our organization. So who are your purchase manager who are looking after the purchase with respect to these vendors? They can be selected vendor wise, and we need to just submit the form and detail will be saved. Similarly, after knowing the payables, there is a next option which reflects your bills, basically the bills of the organization. And these are the pending bills of the organization. And we can also see the status by how many days these bills are basically overdue. And what are the amounts which are still needed to be paid, and what was the due date. And even if you have made certain partial payments, so here the remaining balance due amount can gets reflected here. So in this scenario, none of the bill were partially paid, that is why amount and balance due is same. You can also mark the filter as per our needs. If suppose you want to see what are the not overdue bills of your organization, so none are the not overdue bills. Even the paid bills can be tracked easily, and these details can be downloaded in Excel file easily. Similarly, here are the details of the vendors for whom the payments are made. The payments are done completely, so none of the vendor is there of whom the payments are completed. And similarly, these details can be downloaded easily. Even if any of your vendor has issued you the debit note to your organization, you can just see the status, whether the who what was the date on which this debit note was issued, which vendor actually issue, what was the total amount, what is the balance left on that note, and what is the status, whether this debit note is still open or it has been closed. And these details actually get settled from Tally. After knowing the vendor details and after analyzing the activities to be made with respect to your debtors, we have provided another segment where you can see the entire customer of your organization, the entire invoices of your organization, receipt, credit note, and whatever receipt you have created through CredFlow that can be tracked here. So we'll see one by one. These are the customers of your organization of whom the details are saved in Tally. Similarly, you can see who are the account managers actually looking after these particular customers, and you can set the automated reminder from here also. And it can now easily be tracked that from which particular data, what are the amounts you are about to receive. So basically, here from here, receivables can be tracked as we were able to track for the payables. After knowing the who are the customers, here is the entire invoices of your organization, where we can easily see the date, invoice number, the customer name, what are the amounts, what was the due date, and what are the balances still due. We can also check the filters, like if suppose you want to see what are the not overdue invoices of the organization, you can select the filter. So none are the not overdue invoices. And you can also send these invoices. Basically, these invoices get shared automatically at 5 p.m. Whenever you create any fresh invoices, that gets shared with your parties automatically at 5 p.m. in evening. But if you want, you can also send them manually. Even the previous invoices can be sent manually later on. You can send one by one also. These are the modes through which the invoices can be resent, or you can send in bulk also. You just need to select the debtors, and definitely their invoices can be sent at one click. Definitely their contact details need to be updated there. Unless and until contact details are not updated, the modes the communication cannot be made to that particular data. As the invoices were tracked, you can also track the receipt also, and these are the receipts which were actually either created in Tally or maybe created in CredFlow. but the status is that the amount is actually got settled for these receipts, and they can be easily tracked. Whatever receipts you have created through CredFlow that can be seen under create receipt and they are still open means these are the entries of the receipt which were made in the CredFlow but they were not settled in your tally. Due to certain reason they must have got rejected, or if or maybe they are still pending, they need to be get settled in your tally. Once it gets settled, by the next syncing time it will reflect in the credit flow, and then from create receipt it will be reflected under the receipt column. So once the receipt gets created, it gets it gets reflected in your tally, it gets settles in your tally, and again by the next syncing time it again come back to credit flow and will be reflected on the receipt column. Similarly, if you have issued any of the credit note, that can be seen and what is the status, whether it is still open and closed. So for the things related to the sale and purchase, that can be tracked easily and minutely at different levels. The next segment is related to the stock items. So whatever stocks you are maintaining in your tally, that can easily be tracked at your at a fingertips through the credit flow, either from the mobile app or from the website. These are the item details getting reflected. You can also see what are the quantity has been sold and what are the quantity available in the stock. Also, what is the sales value that was created for the organization by selling those quantity, and what is the current value, current by value in the inventory available. What was the average sales price got generated, and what is the average cost price which actually you bear for for your organization by purchasing these items, and what was the last sale list. So in detail analysis of the item can be made from here and can be tracked. And also the extra thing which can be made is that to any of the item, when you will click, you will find to which customer you actually sold this item, and after selling, what is the status of the invoices, are they still pending or it's being paid, from which supplier you actually purchased this particular item, and what is the status of the bill, is it still pending or is it paid. So, in detail analysis of the item with respect to the sale, with respect to the cost price, with respect to the value, and also what is the status for the invoices got generated against the sale, and also for the bills, you can be easily tracked under this stock section. The another section is given, which is an add-on, which is an extra feature with respect to maintain the PDC's entry. If you are an organization and you receive the payment or makes the payment in PDC, you can maintain their entries here. So if you have received the PDC from any of your data, you can add easily the PDC. You just need to select the customer name who has issued you the PDC. If you know the invoice number against which they made the payment, you can mention what is the PDC date, what is the PDC amount. After filling all these details like check number, bank against which the it was issued, the account number, and the status is that you have just received the check. Once you add the entry for the PDC, it's that we actually helps you to collect the amount against this PDC. So such that we make sure that this particular check should not get bounced, and that is why on the just 2 days prior for the selected date, that is on the 25th, we'll send the automated reminder to Vasumati Associates through email at 10 a.m. in morning, that is to maintain the sufficient balance, such that if due to any reason the Vasumati Associates is having insufficient balance for the amount for which check was issued, they can easily tell you to postpone the check date, and easily the payment, that communication for this payment getting delayed can be avoided easily. Even not only 2 days prior, even on the check date, the date on which check needed to be issued, we will remind them again at 10 a.m. in morning, that is to maintain the sufficient balance as today the check is going to be issued. So there should not be any communication gap with respect to the delay in payment, and we make sure that check should not get bounced. Even for you also, whatever check you have issued, the PDC given, you can create the entries, and similarly 2 days prior of the date on which you are going to issue the check, we will remind you in the morning, that is that after 2 days this check number is going to be issued in the bank, so it is required to maintain the sufficient balance. And also on this particular date on 28th, we will remind you that on today this much amount is going to be debited as you have issued the check. So such that if due to any reason you are having insufficient balance, you can easily tell to your vendor that is to postpone the check date. So now the very last segment which is left, that is the setting menu. So under the setting menu, many things can be altered, and the first thing which you can set is for your organization, such that whatever invoice are being getting shared with your debtors here, as we have seen through this link, that there is an attachment in the invoice, sorry, attachment of the invoice in this link. So we can also add the logo, signature, and each and everything as per the requirement. Like you have the option to add logo, signature. You can change the company name, and accordingly, you can also add the bank account that is required to be mentioned over the invoice here. The bank account, the logo, the authorized signature, etc. Another segment is that the payment settings. This payment setting is basically the payment gateway setting, which we actually just saw few minutes before. That will help you to just create the payment gateway feature for your debtors. After payment setting, the next option is for the credit control setting. As we have seen here that we have been allowing the credit control for each debtor, that is by debtor. So if you want to allow the credit control for the entire organization, so you can opt it from here, where you just need to tell the overdue days which you are allowing and outstanding amount which you are allowing. Also, you can also select the bad date limit such that after this particular date, the organization actually consider any outstanding amount to be a bad debt amount. Now, there are certain things which we share with your debtors, that is whatever invoices you are creating on a daily basis that get shared automatically with your debtors at 5 p.m. Similarly, receipts also generated on daily basis will get shared with your debtors every day on 5 p.m. So accordingly, if you want to share, you can enable or disable. Ledgers are something which will get by default, which will get shared by default, that cannot be stopped. Whatever PDC entries you have created here, basically we send the reminder to maintain the sufficient balance, but same acknowledgement is also being shared such that the PDC was received. Now the reminder setting, this reflects that if there is any short payment means that if there is any outstanding amount with debtor that is either 3% or less than 3%, that is considered as short payment. If you want to send a reminder for the short payment, you can enable it, or if you don't want, you can disable it. If someone has paid recently, irrespective of whether the outstanding amount was cleared or not, but still if they made the payment recently, you can stop the reminder for few days as per the requirement. If you don't want to send the reminders to bad debtors, as you have categorized here that after how many days your organization is actually considering the payment to be a bad debt, so if you want to stop the reminder for the bad debtors, you can just opt it, or else if you will turn it off, so reminder will be sent to all the debtors irrespective whether the amount is considered to be as a bad debt or not. If someone has made the payment in PDC through check, so you can just set the parameter that the PDC amount received should be of what percent of the total outstanding amount, such that if the amount received is less than the defined percentage, then the reminders will be sent. If the amount received will be exactly to the defined or more than to the defined percentage, then reminders will not be sent. We send you the report on a daily basis at 7 p.m. So you can opt that whether you want the reports on a daily basis and where you want, either on email or WhatsApp, that you can opt, or you want the report of the last 3 days. These reports reflects basically the total sales made, total collection made, and what till date outstanding amount. You can also opt for weekly reports, again whether you want it on WhatsApp or email. Now the ledger being shared is basically you can just control the time period, as there is an option with the data that they can see the ledger. So there is a time period here. As you can see, the ledger is being shared for last 22 years. So you have the option to control the time period of how many duration you want to share the ledger. So if you will select 1 year, so for the entire 1 year ledger will be shared. And these are the options basically for the collect screen. Basically these are the options which actually helps you to control the parameters available on the collect screen. The Ivr call being sent to the customer, you can select the language, whether you want to send it in English or you can send it in Hindi. You can also select any of the templates available. Basically, we have so many of the predefined templates. So you can see these are the lines which will our computerized call will be actually informing to your data. So you can just read it, and accordingly you can select the template which you want to select it as a default. Similarly, for the SMS, we have so many of the templates. You can select any of the templates. Similarly, for the WhatsApp, we have so many of the templates. You can select it accordingly. Now, the mail setting is there. This is the email setting. Again, just like the SMS, WhatsApp, and IVR, you can select the template for mail also. And for the mail, you if you want, you can keep yourself to in CC for the communication, whatever reminders and other communication being shared with your data. If you want, you can enable the CC such that if you want to be in CC, you can be in CC, and if you want your user to be in CC, the user can be in CC. If you want that you don't want to be in CC, but the user should be in CC, that can be enabled or disabled accordingly. The automated reminders are being shared through CredFlow virtual. Basically, CredFlow provides you a virtual email account through which the automated reminders are being shared. But if you want to share the email through your own email ID, you can enable this option where you need to add your Gmail account, and accordingly you need to activate through which you want to send the email through which you want to send the email. And these email can be sent manually only, because the automatic will be sent through virtual email account only, but the manual can be sent through your own Gmail account, whichever you have added. And very last setting is the invoice setting. Basically, on each invoice, the payment terms are being added there. So if you want, you can add the payment terms here, and if you don't want, you can just disable it accordingly. You can categorize the invoice whether you have sold the goods or you have sold the services accordingly. If there is any declaration you have, you can add it here, and that will be reflected on your invoices which you have shared. Also, if you are into such business where you want to mention 2 units, then you can enable it. Or if suppose you don't deal with enough goods where you need to mention 2 units, you can easily disable it. So this was about the entire CredFlow software, where the first we have seen the entire organization overview. We have seen the menus which are helping you to deal with your debtors to collect the amount. Then we have seen the menus which will help you to clear your bills for the vendors. We have seen for the stocks, for the PDC entries, you can add different users. And the last was the setting menu. Thank you so much for choosing the CredFlow.